You know it was due, right? That Leafs rant I was supposed to upload yesterday. Yeah, I forgot to do. It's due today. So you know what? I'm gonna just get this out of my chest and talk about last night's Leafs win. As the Leafs win their third consecutive game in a row as they beat the Utah Mammoth 5-3. They go on a 3-game win streak. They improve to 8-5-1 of the season. If I got that right, yeah, I think they beat the Montreal Canadiens. They beat Nashville. They beat the Rangers in overtime. They beat the Sabres in overtime. They beat the Flames. They beat the Flyers. They beat the Penguins. And they beat the Utah Mammoth. So it's 8-5-1 of the season. Yes, of course, the Boston Bruins won today over the Senators in overtime. So what the hell was that? Anyways, that's just me. So before the game started, Simon Benoit, he doesn't he he's out with an illness. Chris Tanev is still out with injury. I mean, come on now. And then of course, you call up Philip Myers, you call up you still have Dakota Murrins, or whatever his name is. And the Leafs go from there. But on the other hand, the Leafs got someone in returning from injury, and that was Steven Lorentz. Definitely needed that. And Scott Lockton, who hasn't even played in October and even into early November prior to the Utah game. And the Leafs did bring him back, and thank God for that, because without him, Leafs would have been in a huge sticky situation. But that's just me. So before the game actually started, John Tavares, he gets his 500th career goal in that loss against Columbus. There's a ceremony for him. It's a really good ceremony. He gets honored. You remember Oliver Ekman-Larsson in his 1,000th game when he back in the Edmonton game in the 2024-25 season. Well, this was similar with the Tavares game. I think for the 1,000th career point and the 500th goal and the 1,000th game. So that was really interesting. So yeah, it's really wonderful that John Tavares had finally got his goal, finally got his 500th career goal. Wasn't the right time to celebrate. I mean, I feel pretty bad for him scoring in Columbus in a 6-3 loss, but it is what it is. So let's get to the game, shall we? First period, it's not really good. It's the same thing over and over, where the Leafs had their chances, but they're playing against Vincent Vanacek. I mean, why didn't we play Vanacek in the last year against Florida in the regular season? It would have been nice, but no, we were stuck with Sergei Bobrovsky. Okay, we had our chance, had the scoring chances, but couldn't do jack. The Leafs couldn't do jack to score in the first period, and that led to a dismal turnover where, unfortunately, Michael Carcone scored, and the Leafs go down 1-0 again. Yet again, they give up the opening goal yet again, and this is a concern. Utah strikes first, and I'm asking myself a huge question: Why are the Leafs giving up first period goal? Why are we giving up the opening goal? I mean, we were good before when we didn't give up the opening goal. Sure, we had some moments in the playoffs in the regular season where we gave up the opening goal. But when was the last time the Leafs struck first? That's right, in the New Jersey game. And what happened here? We gave up the goal, the opening goal, to whom, Michael Carcone. So this is the problem. And of course, John Tavares gets called for a penalty, high sticking the guy. It didn't look like high stick. It was friendly fire, friendly banter on Utah. Yet the refs called it a high stick on Tavares, and I'm thinking that's literally a horrible call. At least we were able to kill off the penalty, but the Leafs couldn't do jack squat on the first goal. Couldn't even strike again. Couldn't return fire, and the Leafs are down 1-0. Okay, so we gave up the one goal. Not good. So the first period wasn't our best. Had our opportunities, just couldn't turn the pace of it. Second period rolls around, that's when everything started clicking. Because, the Leafs we're almost this close to having a good second period. What happened? Well, of course, Utah gets called on a delayed penalty. A Utah penalty was on the. How do I say this? Utah was about to get a penalty, but then William Nylander scores on a delayed penalty called on Utah. That's supposed to give the Leafs a power play, but even if we get the power play, Leafs couldn't do really squat on it, and the Leafs tied the game up at 1 by William Nylander. And then after that, Austin Matthews bangs it in, blasts into Vanecek's net, and the Leafs take the lead 2-1. I'm like, okay, we're feeling pretty good about it. Feeling good. We're up 2-1. Let's just hold on to the damn lead. Let's hold on to this lead. Nope. Instead, we give it up to the Leafs killer, Mikhail Sergachev. And the game is tied at 2. So we went from 2-1 Leafs to a 2-2 game. Great. So no matter what happens, Leafs couldn't do the squat. Still were able to do something. At least we're able to kill off penalties. And then of course Jake McBain gets called for a penalty after the second period was over. Leafs go on the power play in the third period, and they couldn't do jack. But luckily, the Leafs did what they had to do. They scored again, and guess who scores career goal number 501? John Tavares, and the Leafs retake the lead 3-2. And then the former Arizona Coyote / Utah Mammoth, Maccelli, gives the Leafs another goal. It's 4-2 Leafs, so we're feeling pretty good. And of course, Matthew Nye seals it with an empty netter. That should put the game away, 5-2. Yeah, of course, Dylan Gunther scored to make it 5-3, but the fudge. But it didn't really matter. It was still 5-3. Didn't matter. They still end up getting the dub. And Anthony Stolarz, man. I mean, he did have some moments, but he at least held his ground perfectly in the net. Okay, good stuff. So what I liked, well, at least Maccelli got the last laugh against his former team, the Utah Mammoth. And of course, John Tavares scoring his 501st goal. I mean, that was good. What I really didn't like, well, you know what I really didn't like? Well, it's the first period goals, man. Giving up the first period goal, giving up the opening goal. Do you know how silly that is? It's really silly. Like, why can't we just strike first? Why? I understand. It's the first period, but come on. Giving up the first opening goal in a period is just inexcusable. We've done it not once. We didn't not once against Detroit, not twice against Seattle, not 3 times against the New Jersey Devils, not 4 or 5 times against the Sabres back to back, not 6 times against the Flames, not 7, not 8, not 9, but 10 times. Out of the 10 games you can think of, Montreal, Detroit, Nashville, New York Rangers, and the Devils Leafs strike first 5 times. So why can't we strike first? Why? I mean, gotta fix it up, man. The second thing is the penalties. God forbid the penalties, man. There was a bad call called on John Tavares for high sticking. Buddy, that's not a high stick. Look at the plate refs and say that's not a high stick without telling me that's a high stick. But the refs just did nada. And of course, a goalie interference call that was supposed to be called on Utah, non-existent. So that was a problem. And of course, Scott Laughton Scott Laughton taking into consideration and just pushing it and just destroying the Utah guy. Brandon gets called for roughing. Great. And then we kill off that penalty. And then of course, almost this close to having a good second period, and it comes crashing down by Sergachev. But again, Leafs played their best game of the season. I know it's early, but they played their best game of the season. I like it. Okay? So that, of course, seals it. This one's for John Tavares in his 501st career goal, and thank God for that. So, before I end the video, I'm going to go straight to the Utah jerseys. I mean, first off, when I saw those road jerseys for the Utah Mammoth, they're literally the same jerseys as before. It's the same thing like their inaugural road jersey, but instead they kept the Utah logo, and guess what they have added? They've added their sponsor on the jersey, and they've added those two Utah Mammoth logos on both sides of the shoulder. I mean, really? Really? That's what you came up with. You could have just put a Utah Mammoth logo on the road jersey. That's what you should have done. But nope. What did you do? You put the Utah Mammoth road jersey. Put the word Utah on the jersey and call it a day. The only thing you did was Control C, Control V on the Mammoth logo. Delete the Utah Hockey Club logo. Get rid of the inaugural patches and place it on with the Utah Mammoth logo. Do you know how that is? It's unacceptable. In NHL jersey standards, it's just not acceptable. I mean, at least you did pretty good on the home jerseys. I mean, you did put the Mammoth logo on, but the road jerseys, you need a fix. I mean, come on, man. Really? It's just not acceptable. And the name, the branding. I mean, they got the Mammoth. I mean, they called it the Utah Mammoth. Is that from Ice Age? I think it is. I mean, they did a bang-on job by putting in the word, calling it the Mammoth. But the one name that Utah could have came up with was the Utah Warriors. But they've missed it. Great. So no matter what happens, they just went straight for the Utah Mammoth. I mean, if you call that the Utah Hockey Club, there's going to be some serious problems. Because we don't want the same grocery store brand name again. Not those like placing names, you know? That's just me. Anyways, I think that's about it for this Leafs rant. I apologize if I haven't uploaded this video on the day after the Leafs win. I mean, I was going to think of doing it, but I had to do, get some lab work done in the morning today, so that's what I had to do. I mean, I was initially going to do it at the college afterwards, but, it wouldn't make any sense since I would have to go all the way to the go all the way and do the vlog, do the rant from there, and walking like this. I mean, I've done it before with the Washington Capitals rant. I've done it before with the Devils rant. The win against the Devils. The win over the Mariners. The win over the Seattle Kraken. The win over the Utah Hockey Club, now known as the Mammoth. The win over the New York Rangers. And then win in that 4-0 win over the Buffalo Sabres, where Matthews and Marner got their respective points and goals. So that's just me. I should have done it, but I can't. I didn't. Oh well, not my problem. Anyways, that's about it for this Leafs rant. The next game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they play Saturday night. They had today, they have Friday off. They have today and tomorrow off until Saturday, where the Leafs play against the Boston Bruins in an original 6 matchup, and it should be interesting. It should be the game of the ages, and I'm hoping Leafs can make it 4 straight wins in a row against the Boston Bruins, who still have David Pastrnak. They still had Jeremy Swayman, but they had Corporal Salo. And here's the thing: they didn't have the Bruins traded away Brad Marchand to the Florida Panthers, and do not go into the comments saying that Brad Marchand is my dad. He is not my father, and he will never be my father. I've said it before in those Leafs rants when the Leafs lost to the Bruins and the Panthers in the postseason. I've said it again. The Brad Marchand is not my daddy, period. And yet no one's gonna take me serious. I wish the Leafs could have signed Brad Marchand this past offseason instead of Marchand staying with those Florida frauds. Like, how much help do the Panthers need? How much help does Florida need? Anyways, that'll be for another video for another day, another topic for another day. I'll do that in at least for Panthers rant in December, so let's see what happens. So let's go, Leafs! Yeah!